We're at the second intermission at TD Garden, 3-0. The Bruins trying to send it back to Vancouver with a series tied. Pleased to be joined by Ken Holland and Rob Blake. And Ken, there was discussion in the general. Oh, good. We've got our camera coming into the suite here, so this will be a nicer angle for us. Ken, Rule 48 got some discussion today at your meetings. Can you bring us up to speed on what happened?
Well, basically, we're going to expand the rule. We think it's a good rule. We're heading in the right direction. Taking out basically blindside to make it more all over the ice. So the game's evolving and the rules are evolving.
You want to add to that, Rob?
I think so. I think we tried to broaden the head hit rule, the illegal shots to the head. And like today, we had a good consensus. We have a process we go through with the union in a week here to get things going through. But I think we're making progress.
There keeps being this dialogue about north-south. So I didn't hear you say laterals out, or is that coming out of the rule?
Well, what they want to do is they want to broaden that. And in a sense, anything to the head, illegal contact to the head, targeted or a principal point of contact, yeah, that will become a penalty.
Is what? Just a 2-minute minor automatic? Or?
Well, we're going to adjust the rules on the ice, and that's the one thing we need to kind of clear up and make sure that the amount of penalty that'll be situated, it could be a 2 or a 5.
Ken, you're a team that breaks up the middle. No team does it like Detroit. So you've got guys that are in that danger zone, both in your own end at the blue line and certainly coming through the middle at the far blue line. So what is your theory on how to prevent guys getting killed? First the forwards, and then we'll get to the defensemen.
Well, I think that's the hot topic. It's such a fine line between what's legal and what's illegal. You know, we're trying to make the game safer, obviously, because there's concern about concussions and injuries. But at the same time, we want to keep the physicality in the game. So there is an obligation on a player to protect himself. But, you know, you look at the game the other night when Horton got hurt. I think the biggest thing was that it was such a late hit. It's hard to defend yourself. So, you know, when players are coming up the ice, they have to be responsible.
Had it not been a late hit, should it have still been a penalty because it was contact with the head, Rob?
Well, it's one of the things. I mean, when you look at that situation and that hit, every hit is different, but that hit, yeah, definitely was late.
You played recently, so you know this idea that coming out of the lockout, guys get more and more feeling like they're invulnerable, they feel safe, and then whack, they're done. So what are we going to do to get players more aware on the ice?
Well, I think the players take some responsibility, obviously, themselves in that. We'll adjust the rules as we see fit. And like we said, I think the game evolves, and it's evolved since the lockout. It evolves each year, but so do the rules. And I think that's why you have to go back and make adjustments.
Igor Larionov said he'd like to see Vancouver win because they play like Barcelona, because they play like the Detroit Red Wings versus the more conventional North American game of the Boston Bruins. Ken, do you think the way to grow the game is go to that style, or do you think the way to grow the game in the South is to go to the Boston style?
Well, you know what? I mean, I started scouting in 1985, and really there was two distinct styles, north-south and regrouping and cycling and puck possession. I think really the game that we have today is European and North America combined. I think it's the greatest. It's a wonderful game, and I think you can win at both styles.
What about impropriety of having GM's canvas, Ken? Colin Campbell, I asked him once, who's the guy that you trust the most? And he said you. So he'd obviously come to you on a lot of these supplementary discipline calls. Tell us a little bit about that relationship, and if you think it's out of line to have the guy at Hockey Ops talking to GMs.
Well, on occasion, first off, Coley and I go back to the late 80s when he was a coach for the Red Wings, assistant coach. So, I've obviously got a relationship, and I think that, maybe at times he's pulled a couple of people, but for the most part, I think it's been overblown. I think for the most part, they've done it in-house. I think on occasion, Colin has asked for some opinions, or maybe not in specific situations, but over the course of time. So, I think it goes to the integrity. I don't think anybody has more integrity in the game than Colin Campbell. So if anybody out there is concerned about the decision-making process, I think it's been held up of the most integrity.
Last thing, Rob, will you change that? Are you thinking you and Brendan of gassing that idea?
Well, I mean, Brendan will have the ultimate say, obviously, in this, and he's going to have a panel around him, and he'll surround him with the right people. But again, it's getting the feeling, getting the understanding of what is right and what is wrong, and educating the players on that process.
All right, I wish we had more, but we don't have the time for that.